The liberation of Blackstone Keep. As dawn broke over Blackstone Keep, the first rays of sunlight pierced through the grime-covered windows of the dungeon, illuminating the stone walls that had long been shrouded in darkness. Edric awoke to a profound stillness. The oppressive atmosphere that had once clung to the air was gone. The whispers of the spirits had quieted, replaced by a serene silence that felt almost sacred. The remaining prisoners stirred, their faces reflecting a mix of disbelief and hope. They had come together to confront not just the Keeper, but the legacy of pain that had haunted them for so long. Edric could see the light of understanding shining in their eyes. They had shed the weight of their past and emerged stronger. "Are we free?" Roland asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Edric nodded, a smile breaking through the remnants of their shared trauma. "I believe we are. The darkness has been lifted. We have faced our fears and the truth of what happened here." As the prisoners gathered around, a sense of camaraderie filled the air. They shared their stories, recounting the horrors they had endured, but also the strength they had discovered within themselves. The bonds forged in suffering had transformed into a powerful alliance, a family united by their resilience. But as they began to discuss their next steps, a distant sound echoed through the dungeon, a heavy clanking of chains, followed by the creaking of the iron door. The prisoners exchanged nervous glances. Had the warden returned, somehow resurrected by their confrontation? With a sense of foreboding, Edric stepped forward, heart racing. "Stay behind me." As the door swung open, a figure emerged, not the warden, but a guard, looking bewildered. "What's happening here?" he stammered, his eyes wide with confusion, as he took in the sight of the prisoners standing together, united and defiant. Edric took a deep breath, seizing the moment. "We are no longer your prisoners. The warden's reign of terror has ended. We seek our freedom." The guard hesitated, glancing between Edric and the other prisoners. You're serious? The warden is gone?" "Yes," Edric replied firmly. "We confronted the darkness that held us captive, and it is finished. We demand our release." The guard, visibly shaken, backed away slightly. I need to consult with the captain. Stay here." As he turned to leave, Edric felt a surge of hope. This could be their chance for liberation. He gathered the prisoners, urging them to prepare for what might come next. Minutes stretched into what felt like hours, but finally, the guard returned, flanked by the captain, a stern woman with a fierce gaze. The captain surveyed the prisoners, her expression shifting from disbelief to realization. "I've heard the tales of this dungeon," she said slowly, her voice steady. "If what you say is true, then you have faced the darkness that has plagued this keep for too long." Edric stepped forward again, emboldened by her words. "We seek freedom, not just from the dungeon, but from the fear and suffering that have lingered here for generations. We want the truth of Blackstone Keep to be known." The captain nodded, her eyes narrowing with determination. "You're right. The time has come to break the cycle. The king must know what has transpired here." With that, the captain ordered the guards to unlock the cells and lead the prisoners out of the dungeon for the first time in years. As the heavy iron doors creaked open, Edric felt a rush of exhilaration. They stepped into the light of day, leaving behind the darkness that had bound them. As they emerged into the courtyard, the sun bathed them in warmth, a stark contrast to the cold stone of the dungeon. The other prisoners couldn't help but smile, tears of joy mingling with disbelief as they breathed in the fresh air. The captain led them through the fortress, past guards who stared in shock as the former prisoners walked free. Edric felt a sense of purpose. They were not leaving behind the past, but transforming it into a story of resilience and courage. In the great hall, they found the king, a stern man with a reputation for justice. As the captain recounted the events of the dungeon, Edric and the other prisoners stood united, sharing their harrowing tales and the truth about the warden's cruelty. The king listened intently, his face growing serious. "Your bravery in the face of such darkness is commendable. I had heard whispers of the warden's tyranny but had no proof. I will ensure that the truth is known, and those responsible for the suffering in this keep will be held accountable." With the king's vow, the weight of injustice began to lift from the hearts of the former prisoners. They were no longer defined by their captivity, but by their strength to confront their past. As the sun set on Blackstone Keep, Edric stood outside the fortress, looking back at the ancient stone walls that had once been a prison. The spirits of the dungeon were finally at peace, and the darkness that had haunted the place had been transformed into a story of liberation and hope. Together, they would forge a new future, one free from the chains of fear, where the echoes of the past would serve as a reminder of their resilience. And as they walked away, Edric knew that their journey had just begun, but they would face it together,